What you're about to see is not for the faint of heart. Tighten down your bootstraps, because we have compiled some of the most spectacular crashes in the history of cycling. You'll get a chance to see all of those here on World Cycling Productions' greatest crashes of all time. First of all, we're going to look at the Tour de France, perhaps the most nervous of all races. Nobody willing to touch the brakes for one moment. Every single cyclist in the race possessed to get their grip. And we see some incredible wipeouts. Tour de France up first. I'll be back in a little while to relate some of my own personal anecdotes. I've crashed all over the world. Stay tuned for some great footage.
Going down. Oh, he's brought down the yellow jersey. Oh my goodness me, that's terrible. Van der Velde has brought down the leader. Both teammates in TI Rally. This is big trouble now for Joop Zoetemelk, back on his bike. He's obviously slipped the gear there as he went up. Now let's see it in slow motion what exactly happened there. He got out of the saddle, he slipped the gear, he's taken the front wheel away from under it, and down goes Joop Zoetemelk of Holland for TI Rally. That is an absolute disaster. Van der Velde himself. Zoetemelk now being pushed up, a big shove. Now this is going to be a tremendous fight back for Zoetemelk of Holland. 1 minute 18 seconds is all he has over Henny Kuiper. Kuiper's still in that leading group, and you can bet your life that he saw the blood dripping off the left arm there of Zoetemelk.
Zoetemelk, after years of trying, finally went on to win the 1980 Tour. Leading out with Olaf Ludwig, the Olympic champion, in the centre of the picture, Abdou Japarov suddenly takes a dive for the barriers and revolves right into the head of the pack. He takes down two Chateau d'Ax gates. A most horrific crash. Being mown down at almost 60 kilometres an hour by some of the fastest finishers in the world. And so, as a result of that, Dmitry Konishev, another Soviet rider, won his second stage of this year's Tour de France and his third in all. Abdou Japarov, to claim his green jersey in this year's Tour de France, was helped over the finishing line, but he had a broken collarbone and severe concussion.
Yeah, his teammate Abraham Alana looks as if he's had a problem going round one of the corners there. He's back up on his machine. He's getting pushed by one of the spectators at the side of the road, and he must have lost it in that corner, Phil.
Well, I think it's a left-hand corner. He's just we can have a look at it again here now. It's a left-hand corner, completely out of control. There's no way he was going anywhere. He locks up his back wheel. Well, thank heavens there was a straw bale there, but that's called a headstand in front of the public, and the world champion is going to be embarrassed about that, because in fact Armstrong is coming right up behind him. A Carrera rider crashes, and with him a rider from Helvetia La Suisse is also down. And Dutchman Martin Ducrot needs a pain-killing spray after another crash.
The day's Reckless Driver Award, meanwhile, went to Benoit Joachim of US Postal, clearly failing to stay in lane on one of the climbs and cutting up Bonjour's Sylvain Chavanel.
Then from the west the skies darkened, and after only an hour of competition, the sunny and warm day changed its face to that of a demon. The light rain turned into a deluge. By the time Boardman started at 9:24, conditions were the worst possible, and no rider had approached the early time of Durand. Boardman launched himself from the start house, still intent on being the champion of the day, but after only 4 minutes of racing and with the best time thus far, the prologue favourite lost control on the slippery surface and was lucky to survive this horrendous crash. His team car, taking avoiding action, stopped inches from him. Boardman remounted and tried to go on, but it was all in vain. His injury such that Boardman's tour was already over, and the hospital was his next overnight stop. Next morning, from his hospital bed in Saint-Brieuc, Chris Boardman could only reflect on his darkest hour as a bike rider.
The prologue was the first goal. It wasn't the most important. It was something, a little bit of insurance. It was something I could do. I could take the yellow jersey in the Tour de France, so I really wanted to try and do that. 1 minute I was going at 80k an hour, and the next minute I wasn't. I'm not so sure it was me pushing too hard, actually. That was my first thought. It's more the change in surface, and with the dimming light, it was very difficult to see the where it was totally smooth tarmac and where it was grippy, and when you're pushing it to the limit.
And you know, Paul, I heard there's something like a crash there, and there it is. It happened at the back of the field. A number of riders are down here. This is a massive pile-up here.
There's bodies all over the place. There's 1 or 2 riders down there and injured. I can see a rider from US Postal sitting in the middle of the road there. That looks a bit like Jonathan Waters. There's another man getting up there as well, riding off. But this has caused a big split in the main field. But Armstrong predicted this, and he's right near the front.
There's an awful lot of riders have been delayed here too, and that's Calcaterra from Seiko also. There's a wrestling match going on there. Let's have a look at the crash now. Watch the bottom of your picture here, because they start to fall on the left, and because the road is so slippery, I think there's a whole ricochet effect here.
What's happened is those first 2 riders have gone down, and the people behind have all panicked. They've touched the brakes and the wheels have locked up.
And the riders believe that they have a real chance at striking out and getting a stage win. But the problem is the crashes, and there we have it. Now there was a rider down on the right, and it's the Spanish rider who finished 10th last year, Hernan Buenohora of the Kelme boy. He's in a precarious position there as he gets his bike off the road, but he does look as though he's quite badly injured with that right knee. And somebody else is down as well. Perhaps we can see it better here. The wind keeping the riders pinned to the left-hand side of the road. Buenohora is shot out of the line over to the right. And there's another rider and a little bit of leapfrogging with the bikes over the broken machinery here. Pineri does a pretty good job at mountain riding. But that is a great shame, and that is about the 2nd or 3rd crash we've had already today. And Buenohora has been announced as having retired from the race with his injuries, and this is Thierry Marie. Now this was a sort of central reservation here in the middle of the median strip. Marie has gone slamming into that sign. Thierry Marie, who has been a great prologue rider over the years in the Tour de France. He's won it 3 times. He's also had one of the longest breakaways ever too, to win a stage and get the yellow jersey back, and he's in trouble. There's a little crash up the road, and I think there's somebody over to the right here, and that to me looks like Luc Leblanc, who has gone down on the right of the road here, and the doctor, Gerard Porte, is with Luc Leblanc. Let's have a look down. There's Thierry Marie going into the centre, and at the same time there's a rider gone off to the left because another rider fell, and it seems to be a completely separate incident. Well, this is Luc Leblanc, and it looks like he's going on. Well, hats off to him, because he looked as though he was down and out for the count there, Luc Leblanc. This was being a tour of accidents though. Hendrik Redant was out, and so too was this rider from Mercatoni Uno. But this was the big crash of the day. Just a couple of kilometres from the finish, Sammy Morels of the Lotto team led the whole field into the barriers. And the man delayed with a broken bicycle was the yellow jersey of Laurent Jalabert. Surprisingly, no Once rider had seen him fall. He was left to wallow at the back of the race. He was going to lose time. He was going to lose his yellow jersey.
Jaja's gone down. Unbelievable.
Well, Armstrong has just fallen, and his bike is finished. He needs a bike. This is how it happened. This is how it happened, and there's a very nasty fall that. He looks okay, but and a very strange fall too. His front wheel just slid away from him. He's now looking at that arm as he comes onto his spare bike and continues his descent. Well, he was in a very difficult situation at the top of the climb, where he locked his back wheel up and slid round the corner. At the bottom of the climb here, he's got, it must have been gravel or something on that bend.
It looks like gravel, but you see Jaja is a very experienced bike rider. He fell, but as soon as he knew he was going to fail, his body went all limp. He's just taken a bit of skin off there, but that's not too much. It's a bit of road rash that nearly every professional bike rider has had in his career, but he's up and riding again. A very sensible decision too, to take on board a new bike immediately.
And the riders here having to struggle on this small climb, the Côte du Jorgat. The reason being, it's very, very steep, but it's not very long, and they're totally overgeared for the climb. They're queuing up at the back here, and now they're running into one another. And the rider on the ground there looks like a TBM rider. Well, that will be Rob Harmeling. And you know, Harmeling really has had a strange tour. A win at Bordeaux, quite a bad crash he had on the road into Brussels, and now he's fallen off again. This isn't so serious though. Well, this is a little by-road, and the organisation bringing Tour up off the by-road over this short climb, very little used by traffic, and then the riders return back down to the main road. It's really caught one or two riders out, including the great climber there, Fernando Quevedo, sitting at the back of the field. And walking up the hill, Jesus Montoya on the left of our picture as well. They can't get up. Just look at the struggle that Harmeling is having on that bottom gear of his. There's Montoya. And the rider over to the right here, and it looks like he's going places. Quevedo has gone down again. And just look at this right-hand bend here now, because the back wheel of Indurain, he lost it there. Indurain is going around this corner out of control, and he's just locked at the back wheel to get round. It's a nasty squeeze. Well, that's the closest Indurain must have come to falling off, and it just highlights that you're never sure of winning a Tour de France till you get to Paris.
Armstrong was waiting for somebody to pull in the flag, and now it was even. Oh, what's happened here? What has happened there? It seemed quite a normal corner. He must have hit somebody in the audience. Mayo has gone. Now the situation. Remember the pair of sword when Ulrich crashed, Armstrong waited. But let's have a look at this now. It still is unclear here exactly what happened.
I can't see. I think he just touched somebody with his handlebar there, but his chain is off. His chain is stuck, and it's a complete and utter chaos at the back end of the bike race. Can he recover? He's on his same bicycle. His teammate is there right now. He's changed up onto the gear to try and get himself. He's got a teammate there. There is Chechu Riviera. Calm down. Don't panic, lads. He's saying, he's putting his hand down and saying, don't worry, we can get back into this. There is Vinokourov in front. There is Iban Mayo. He's the man who went down with Armstrong as well.
Oh, what is going on?
There's a problem with his pedals. He has a problem with his pedals.
This is what happened. I think his pedal may have broken. This happened. He didn't hit anybody. Well, it was the problem with his pedals.
It was very strange to see that. He's looking down. He now knows he's got a serious problem. Watch this now.
Well, this is awful.
Digging deep, and his foot has just come out, and I don't believe how he's managed to keep it upright there.
And how did Mayo must have panicked as well there. Well, what is this Tour de France going to end with? Every day is something different. Now, we have had the privilege of having a look at the slow-motion replay of the situation. It looks, Paul, as though Armstrong did hit the spectator, as you said, because the spectator's hat rested on his handlebars. What I think it was the tape of the handle of a musette, a little feeding bag, hooked onto his handlebars and snatched his bike away from him. Well, it was perhaps an error of Lance to go so close to the crowd line on that corner, because that is always a possibility, because the spectator only views the cyclist at the last minute at that sort of an angle.
There was must have been a spectator had something, probably like a bag, or it's like, let me say, a musette, the feed bag, and the handle was just swinging around and caught my handlebar. And when something like that happens, the spectator holds on to it, and it holds onto your handlebar, and you know, immediately you go down, as we saw. So scared the hell out of me. But I was lucky that the bike wasn't messed up, because I got up and I thought, you know, if I have to change a bike or change a wheel, then it's going to take some time. But the only problem was the chain came off, put the chain on, and we go.
Ja gut, heute war richtig, war wieder extrem schwer, ich denke mal die absolute Königsetappe. Und ich bin erstmal glücklich, dass es so gelaufen ist. Lenz ein Sturz, er ist attackieren gegangen, Mario hinterher, ich war auch wieder dran, und dann ist er so dicht an den Zuschauer gefahren, war er selbst ein bisschen schuld. Und ja, denke ich, hat sich nichts getan, so wie er danach gefahren ist, und ich habe dann auch nicht weiter attackiert, und ja, Fairness ist, denke ich, alles auch im Radsport, und ja gut, Lenz war heute der Stärkste. Aber ich habe gekämpft und alle Register gezogen, die ich hatte heute. Habe auch am Tourmalet probiert wegzukommen, aber ja gut, also die Tour ist noch nicht vorbei.
It's the way that it should be. You know, it's when somebody, and in my opinion, when somebody crashes, whether they're in the yellow jersey or whether they're one of the favorites, you don't attack. And then, you know, if we remember, 2 years ago, Jan Ullrich had a big crash on the descent of the Pierre Sword, went off the road, looked awful. And I told everybody at the time, you know, only 3 or 4 guys left. I said, look, we have to wait for him, because we don't know if he's okay. We don't know if he's coming back. So the race is neutralized until he gets back. And so, you know, Jan was perhaps had that in mind today, and that was my payback, and I appreciate it.
All out on the course on the descent. Oh, there's a risk there. Somebody's gone off. That was amazing. Ulrich's gone down. Ullrich has gone over the edge. Unbelievable. He was taking risks, trying to damage Armstrong, but he's okay. He's up. He's climbing up there. Oh my gosh, unbelievable. He took huge risks around there. Unfortunately, Livingston has stopped and waited for him. This is remarkable. He wanted to blow Armstrong away on the descent exactly 40 years after the same thing was done by the cannibal Eddie Merckx to Luis Ocaña.
That was on a different mountain, of course. That was on the Col del Monte. But he never made that at all. Ulrich just didn't make it, and Livingstone saw it happen and waited for Jan Ullrich. Now he's going to have to pace him back. There you can see the jersey of the champion of Germany. He just couldn't get around the corner. As far as injuries are concerned, I don't think there are any. It was a case of not being able to control the bike on the bend.
I cannot believe there are any. We'll have a look at that one more time. He was going straight into that corner, going much too fast. Armstrong was following him, saw that the German had gone the wrong way into the corner. He's fine. You can see he controlled it. He just went over the top of the bars. That was an excellent roll. I tell you one thing, the man is an absolute acrobat, and now he will find that Armstrong is on his own. I would expect Armstrong to wait because there's still an awful long way to go to the finishing line, and he needs to do that right now because he doesn't want to try and take advantage of that accident by Ullrich.
And now it's just 900 metres from the finish, and what will be the greatest win of his career here. And what on earth has happened? Good, I don't know what to say, because Paul, that guy just stood in the middle of the road, and Guerini has hit him. Now he had 20 seconds, and the time gap is coming down rapidly.
They'll come back pretty quickly, Phil. They've managed to get a bit of a recovery there. This is how it happened. That photographer there stood in the middle of the road. He didn't realise the distance. Guerini went straight into him. He must have really panicked when that happened. In fact, the guy who knocked him off didn't even try to help him back onto his bike. But right behind him now, he must be able to smell Tonkov. He can feel the breath of the Russian on his shoulders there, and he knows now he's got to give everything. I don't know where he's going to get his strength from now, because Tonkov is closing fast.
He keeps looking back. He knows they're coming close, but it's all okay for Giuseppe Guerini. 29 years of age, and his biggest win since he got the 17th stage of the Giro d'Italia, which is over 1 year ago. And look at that time, what a long day this has been. But Guerini gets the win. Well, what about that crash? Well, here's what he had to say.
Sì, ho visto che si è messo in mezzo alla strada per farmi fare una foto, poi io ho deciso se passare a destra o a sinistra, e per tagliare la strada e farla più corta sono andato a sinistra, e lui si è spostato proprio a sinistra e mi è venuto addosso.
And with the two leaders at the front of the road, further down, Greg LeMond, a bizarre crash, hit from the back by the team car of Gianni Bugno. In fact, Gianni Bugno had just attacked, and the team car was going forward to service him, and Greg LeMond was hit from behind. It was a bizarre accident, and in fact the team manager serviced LeMond and later sought him out to apologise for the error. LeMond just got on with the job in hand. It would upset his rhythm though. Now he had to try and get back into it again. This has been the most important escape, and there's a crash at the back. Ken Gyelt has gone down in collision with the motorbike. That's left the sprint now to Museo and Shandri. Shandri coming on the right, but look at the sprint finish by Bjorn Ries here. Well, Ries, I think, is going to get the stage. In fact, Museo will get the yellow jersey, but Bjorn Ries gets the stage.
Oh, Ulrich's gone down. Ulrich has crashed. Well, we can't see Hamilton finish because this is what everybody is worried about. Ullrich has gone down, and he was in the lead by about 6 seconds when he fell. We can look at this now. These are the grease on the roundabouts, and they saw the sparks flying.
Unbelievable. It is a very dangerous time trial. He's gone into the bales. Thank goodness there were bales at the side of the road, and it was just the front wheel that was lost. The team manager was there very quickly indeed. The mechanic was up alongside.
Now that's the same place where Uwe Peschel crashed, Paul, and broke his rib. So Ullrich is up and away.
Ulrich's up and away. He doesn't seem to be injured, but what that will do, Phil, that will make him very nervous coming into the next few corners. He was going so well. He was 2 seconds ahead of Armstrong. These roads are becoming very slick as we get closer to the finish line here in Nantes. There are so many riders have gone down in this time trial.
The whole field stringing out. Nellison leading through. The champion looking for an early win here. Oh my goodness me, they've hit the policemen. They've all come down. That is a terrible crash. Gonchenkov has gone down. Fontanelli's gone down. That is an amazing pile-up. Laurence Jalabert has gone down. Now watch this again here, and watch the rider in black. You can see the policeman looking straight at the race, and then into them goes Jalabert. Hits those cans really very, very hard indeed. I've never seen anything like it. This is Wilfred Nellison on the floor, and with him is Laurence Jalabert. Well, how on earth did that happen?
The problem was the policeman was there, and he had a camera to his face. It was obvious. People say he didn't have a camera in his face, but he definitely had a camera up to his face because he didn't even move.
I always expect a big crash in the Tour de France in the final kilometer, but not a crash caused by policemen, a crash caused more by the riders colliding together.
The first week of the Tour always seems to be a week of crashes.
Well, there is a big pile-up.
People are just going berserk.
Looks like a Seiko rider's gone down.
They're battle of survival.
Riders have gone off to the right into the ditch here.
It's crazy.
The first week of the Tour is always jittery, with a full complement of riders and not enough miles in their legs to calm them down and string them out. The consensus in the peloton seems to be that this year things are worse.
There's many factors: the roads, the speed, 200 guys, and all those things.
I think there's too many people on too smaller roads, and and everyone's really nervous.
You survive the first week without crashing. The second week, you're going to be okay.
In fact, it's a clear sign that the situation's getting out of hand when non-climbers are looking forward to the Pyrenees.
Last year was the same thing, I remember, just very nerve-wracking. I mean, when you finally got to the mountains, it was a relief to get to the mountains, because then finally you're able to just be in your little group and ride, you know, for me, riding alone, but with other guys riding with a smaller group.
For some reason, the whole season so far seems to have had more than its quota of crashes. In Milan-San Remo, Laurent Jalabert brought down Britain's Max Chiandri in the final sprint, and Abraham Olano's attempt to warm up for the Tour with a win in the Dauphiné Libéré ended up down the side of a hill. The Tour of Italy in particular had enough crashes for a compilation video. The most embarrassing being Alexander Schaefer headbutting a snack bar in a less than tight bend, and the nastiest looking Luc Leblanc hitting the wall. The unluckiest rider in the race, though, had to be Marco Pantani. Having missed most of last year after an encounter with a car, he was brought down by a black cat, and like Leblanc, he had to abandon. Of course, the history of the Tour is littered with crashes, and quite a few of them have decided the outcome of the race. In 1951, Wim van Aert, the first Dutchman to wear the yellow jersey, became the first to lose it when he went down a ravine on the Col d'Aubisque. It was bad news for his team too, because their entire supply of spare inner tubes was tied together to pull him up, forcing them to abandon as well. In 1971, Louis Ocaña was leading the race when he missed a bend, hit a spectator and broke his collarbone, effectively handing Eddie Merckx the third of his 5 tours. More recently, of course, Rolf Sorensen crashed out in yellow during the 91 Tour, and Chris Boardman famously lost the chance to take it when he lost control of the 95 Prologue. For drama, you can choose from crashes at either end of tours in the 90s. Laurent Jalabert's in 94, when a policeman officially didn't step out in front of the peloton, at least according to the police, on stage 1. And Jamaluddin Abdul-Jafarov's spectacular collision with a coke bollard within 50 yards of the finish on the Champs-Élysées 3 years earlier. Courage, though, nothing matches Bernard Hinault's refusal to give up the yellow jersey in 1985. Despite breaking his nose in a nasty fall close to the finish in Saint-Étienne, he finished the stage and went on to win the last of his 5 tours.
And all of those riders did recover from those horrific injuries. And immediately the races got underway on the narrow roads of Normandy. Massive pile-up. And it looks to me, Paul, as though something like 60 riders involved in this one.
Well, certainly has caused a traffic jam, but 1 or 2 riders staying down on the ground there. I think 1 or 2 may well be seriously injured. But you can see the chaos. Riders trying to get into the gutter at the side to get round and carry on with the racing.
Well, this is the latest of a series of crashes today. We'll try and pick up that rider who is lying down in the road at the moment. A lot of riders here showing no concern about remounting and getting on with the Tour de France, because there's a lot of riders got away up front, but it's also around the epicenter down there. 1 rider is on the floor, and we'll try and get down in there and see who it is. Alex Zülle is 1 rider who's been delayed as well, and he's not going to be too pleased with that, Paul, especially with his damaged collarbone.
Well, that operation just before the Tour de France, he was hoping would be able to ride down to the mountains without too many problems. You can see Alex Zülle there, but the rider on the floor is one of the riders from Big Mat Aubert.
There are some great sprinters, if not all of them, in this year's Tour de France, and this isn't going to be an easy sprint either as they come down to the finish at Cholet. And there's been a crash on the corner as I speak, Paul. A touch of wheels again.
George Hincap is in there right in the middle, so his chances of going for a bonus at the end of this stage are gone. But on the descent, Phil, the first serious crash, that's Francesco Casagrande.
Casagrande is down, the leader of the Cofidis team. There's a number of riders gone down here now. Well, all the way over the top, everybody was warned of the treacherous conditions on the descent. And now just look at this. Riders are sprinkling like confetti on the edge of the Aubisque. And there's a number of retirements.
16th overall this morning. He was hoping to climb up in the standings today, but I think, Phil, he's taking a beeline for the team car.
Now he's poised nicely, just centre left of our picture, and there was a nasty switch in the middle there. Looked as though it was caused by Jan Zerada, but he certainly kicked George Hincapie out of the way as they now continue for the line. As Zabel again has hit the front, and Cipollini challenges him. Eric Zabel, Cipollini clear of them all now and gets the win. Another pile-up which left World Track champion Silvio Martinello, Jerome Blylevens and Jan Kirsipuu lying in the road. The green jersey leader Jan Zerada was blamed for that crash and was relegated from 12th to 180th. This is again another crash here. We've gone further down the road now. We're just outside of the finish at Cork. Another touch of wheels, and some of the big stars are down here.
The team leader took control out on the road, only to see one of his team members lose it.
And there's a crash in the Postal team. There's a touch of wheels. Two riders are down here on the floor. One of them is Van der Velde, I think. The right-hand side of the picture, I'm not sure whether the other one is Tyler Hamilton, but two riders are down.
It looked like Roberto Heras who went down now. That somebody's switched across there. Number 9 going down there is Van der Velde, the first man to go down. Right over the top of him there is Roberto Heras, and that was a very hard crash for them. Van der Velde seemed to have lost it. He touched the wheel in front of him. Now that is going to be bad for the Posties because they've still got around about 18 kilometres to go to the finish line.
There's another crash. There's a crash, and this again is a situation.
Let's have a look and see if any of the riders who are high in the overall standings have been caught out. Number 12 there for Team Telecom is Rolf Aldag. He's a big worker. Again there, Christoph Agneluto, AG2R, number 182. He is down. It looks as if there's a large, tall Crédit Agricole rider. That may be Jonathan Vaughters, again having a bad day.
Lampre's gone Paul, Marco Serpellini, and there's somebody
the world champion
Freire is down. Oscar Freire has taken a very nasty fall. Now this is a man whose whole career has been dogged by physical problems, and this is extremely sad, and it's his back again. It's his back that has given him the problems in the past. There's somebody else right underneath him from Lampre down there.
Well, now, he just popped his head up for the last minute. That
ditch is rather deeper than it appears, it seems. A lot of riders are down here and delayed.
Oh, and Christophe Moreau, 61, is down as well. This is bad. There's Jonathan Vaughters. Stewie O'Grady is there as well, I think, on the left-hand side. You can see that a lot of men have gone down. Frederic Bessy, number 52. The Crédit Agricole riders all here waiting for their leader. And Christophe Moreau, I think, more dejected psychologically here, Phil, than anything else.
Here's Alan Piper.
Things seem to be quietening down a little bit. The guys aren't so nervous today. Well, they were in the start. But we seem to be rolling to Paris. I think everybody knows today's the last dangerous day. After that, straight to the Champs-Élysées. Party Sunday night at the Mexican restaurant. I'll be dancing on the table with Khrushchev. He's going to bring his vodka.
Well, Alan, thanks for the sandwich as well, and we'll see you on the Champs-Élysées. Well, the rain has started again now. Has gone down, and the other rider almost went with him. Did well to stay upright there. McEwen is holding. Bettini also trying to get there on the back wheel of Eric Zabel. I think Stuart O'Grady has moved too far back, and there's been a mass pile-up there. I think it was Towler went down as the peloton completely crashes on the line. It's put forward now about 15 men here. The peloton are at a standstill. Now, just to quickly tell you the rules, everybody will be given the time of the winner because they are inside the final kilometre.
Yeah, but the one or two riders, they're seriously injured on the ground there. Now, if Lance Armstrong is in this group at the moment, the referees tonight will give all of the riders who are in the main field at the 1 kilometre to go banner exactly the same time. There should be no change at all. Let's just have a look here and see how that crash went down. It was the big Kelme rider. His foot came out. He went immediately down onto the ground, and then it was pandemonium behind. You can just see over on the left-hand side there, Ulrich was caught out behind the crash as well. But all of the riders behind the crash, Phil, today will be given the same time. Now, there's US Postal. There's a lot of confusion there. I wonder whether or not Lance Armstrong was involved in that crash.
Well, let's certainly hope he was not, but I think the rider that went down was Towler of the Kelme squad, first to go, and then a massive pile-up. Now, overall, the shoulders, there he is, and he was obviously involved there, Brad McGee.
but he won't lose his yellow jersey. He's inside the last kilometre. This rule was brought in many years ago because of situations like this in the last kilometre, so they don't lose time. The clock stops at the kilometre to go for all of the riders who are together in the event of a fall. McGee quite clearly has fallen, but he'll still keep his yellow jersey.
Well, what a crash that was towards the end, and that's all it takes when you're full on at 65 kilometres an hour. You just do not have time to get out of the way. The majority of the main field is starting to come in right now, and I'm not sure whether or not Lance Armstrong was just stopped at the side of the road. There are one or two riders there, Phil, who have been seriously injured by that crash. They will get the same time as the winner at the end of the day, but I tell you one thing, this looks as if this could very well be Jimmy Casper, who's been caught up with a fairly nasty crash there. He will have taken a lot of risks to be towards the front.
Well, a look at the replay actually shows there was nothing Jimmy Casper could have done to avoid his injury. It's the man in green on the extreme right of the picture, Kelmay's Jose Enrique Gutierrez, who causes all the mayhem, pulling his foot out of his pedal as he sweeps wide around the corner. Casper in white is right next to him and has no time whatever to react or protect himself as he goes down. Lance Armstrong himself went down in the aftermath of the crash, surrounded at the top of the screen here by his US Postal teammates, and he finished the stage on the bike of his teammate Chechu Rubiera, complaining of back pain. And for 5 minutes or so after the crash, the walking wounded and the damaged machinery continued to cross the line, followed finally by the man who'd caused it all, Jose Enrique Gutierrez, looking a lot better off than many of the men he brought down. Thankfully, David Miller had avoided all the trouble and spoke to Ned Boulting as he came across the line.
Well, I didn't see anything. I was just chilling at the back. I knew it was going to crash, just knew it. So I was just sitting just behind all the favourites, just keeping it safe. I think every single favourite went down. It was pretty impressive. I was just behind, just watching them go down one by one. It was like...
Ooh, and he nearly lost his front wheel there going around the corner. A little twitch of the front wheel. He's taking a lot of risks here. He's only leading by 10 seconds. The difficult thing on a day like this is, in fact, the toe, and Belocchi's gone down. Armstrong's off the road as well. Armstrong, complete control there. He's into the field, but what a great bike rider. He's gone across. This is unbelievable. I've never seen this before. Armstrong went across the field there. He's back on the road at 4 kilometres to go. What great reflexes from the man from Texas. Tyler Hamilton coming along there, touching him on the shoulder. This is unbelievable. That man was in complete control there. Watch this again. This is Yoshiba Belocchi locking up the back wheel. His tyre has come off. Armstrong has gone across. Alexander Vinokurov, I think, has gone down as well. This is unbelievable. Armstrong riding across the apex. Oh, this is incredible. Armstrong is such a star. The yellow jersey of the Tour de France at 4 kilometres to go has in fact shown us that he's an unbelievable bike handler. Let's calm down. Belocchi's down. Belocchi's injured. He does not look good at all.
Paul, sorry, Paul, go on.
He's down, he is hurt. I think he could very well be out of the Tour de France. What happened there, Phil, was he locked up his back wheel, and as he went sideways, the tyre popped off, and then he just couldn't control it. He was sliding on the metal.
It was
he went off the road. But what about Armstrong? Armstrong was unbelievable. He saw there was only one thing to do, there was only one place to go. I hope the judges don't penalise him for taking a shortcut.
Well, while Armstrong was preserving his race lead, the man who'd started the stage in second place was still being helped to his feet and into the ambulance that would take him out of the Tour. Jorg Jakscher and Jose Acevedo, the teammates who'd stopped to pace their leader back into the race, had been forced to leave him, still coming to terms with the fact as they crossed the line.
Jorg, did you get a clear view of the accident?
No, didn't see.
You stopped for your saber to give him a hand. Did you say anything to him?
No. He was on the floor, he was on the street and crying, so better don't say anything.
As we see the crash again, it seems as though it's perhaps the sticky road surface half melted in the heat that catches Belocchi out. He comes agonisingly close to righting himself before finally going down, and then Armstrong, with nowhere else to go, is riding on reflex and muscle memory from cyclocross. Now, at a certain point he obviously could have stopped and turned back, but he continues through the farmer's field It could so easily, of course, have been a dense wood or a steep drop, and cuts the corner. Now, technically, that's a breach of the rules, but it didn't take the race commissaires long to look at it and reach a verdict.
They say you always have to follow the right course, but of course he couldn't do anything for that, and we don't do anything on this point, because it was not his fault. He couldn't do anything for that. It was the crash of Belocchi, and there was only one possibility for him, and it was to go down, and then he followed the race, also no problem.
First of all, the incident from our point of view is extraordinarily dramatic. How did it look from where you were?
Well, it was dramatic for me being on the bike. I didn't expect that to happen, and you can't train for that, so it's just a reaction, and you get off. When you see something like that happening, the first thing you do is you say, okay, where am I going to go? And I couldn't make it to the right. I couldn't go over him, and so I could only go left. And so when I went left, I was looking left, and then I found a little path there into the field, and just continued on.
Presumably at the time you had no idea what had happened to Joseba Belocchi, and now that we know the injuries are quite serious, how does that make you feel?
No, it's like I said a minute ago. I mean, he was racing the race and racing aggressively. I mean, we were both, he and I were both riding on the front to bring back Vino. It was at 20 seconds at the top. We got it down to 15 and then down to 10. So we were, looked like we were going to bring him back. So you hate to see a guy who's out there, doing his best and a real threat for the race to go down like that.
You see now the rain has started to fall here. Ronan Pensek trying to catch it. Oh, and he's gone. Pensek has gone, and that wheel has gone under our camera on the motorbike here. Well, the motorcyclist did well to stay upright there.
À Valorbe, Bartali chute lourdement avec Giedrich. Les domestiques de la squadra se précipitent et le relèvent.
Some amazing footage from the Tour de France, which always provides us with spectacular footage. In my own experience in the Tour, we had won the Giro d'Italia in 1988. We came to the Tour full of ambition and good spirits, and the Tour organizers added an extra day contrary to UCI regulations. They had us race on a Sunday just to give away the yellow jersey. It wasn't a contest for general classification, but I hit a spectator who had stepped out into the road inadvertently. I had put my head down to sprint for just one moment, and pow, it was like plowing into a brick wall. I had no idea what happened. I woke up in the hospital a few hours later with a very swollen knee and a slight concussion, and had to pack my bags for home. The roads are always open and anything can happen. I recommend, number one, you wear a helmet. Number two, you don't look down in the middle of a 40-mile-an-hour sprint either. One race, year after year, that gives us some of the most compelling images in all of cycling is the one-day classic in northern France, Paris-Roubaix. It goes across ancient roads that are covered with cobbles. You crash on those, and it's like being fed into a meat grinder. Hope you enjoy these very, very scary images of Paris-Roubaix. It's not if you're going to crash in Paris-Roubaix, but when.
And there you can see Hincapie having to get round that car there. In fact, there seems to have been a slight accident, and I would think that's the car of Bernard Hinault. And this is George Hincapie stopping at the side of the road, pushed on by the spectators. But Phil, once you lose your momentum, it's very difficult to get it going again.
Well, George is struggling here. That's unlucky. Obviously, there's been a bit of a problem with the vehicles on that bad corner. And right into the ditch here. Well, this is such bad luck for the US Postal Riders.
Very unfortunate for that young man, because now he will take a little bit of a psychological blow as we look here at Georgie Hincapie. Very nasty crash going right down into the ditch at the side of the road there. Somebody's gone down. I think that was Gaumont.
Gomar has crashed there, and he's on the road, and he's not getting up, and in fact he doesn't look too good. This is indeed Philippe Gomar. Museo picks his way round, the rest of the break does as well. There's Brard, the world champion's trying to get back.
Taz picked his way around him there. Let's have a look at that again. Hincapie is the man in the front place, and woof, he's gone straight down. These cobblestones are so slippery, it's unbelievable. Van Bon picked his way round there.
Passes the flag of Denmark there, indicating a headwind. He just can't find his cleats anymore, and there's a bit of a jump. Van Bon has gone down, skidded on the cobbles. He's lost ground, but again the spectators on hand to try and get him going. We can have a look at that again, I think. Oh, he's just seems to slide on what appears to be horse manure right in the centre of the mud.
Good move by Pierce, though. He just moves up and pushes that bike out of the way, but look how quickly he's on his machine again.
Well, there was the crash, and this is how it happened on a simple right-hand bend. That was a nasty heavy fall for Maxi van Heeswijk. I think we can go up to the leaders here now, and it was Lars Mikkelsen who lost it. There must have been something on that corner, because Guven went completely on his own volition, taking out Max and slowing down Tristan Hoffmann.
Look at this, it's a mass pile-up. There's riders all over the place here.
Well, this is a complete standstill here, which means the race at the head, of course, is going forward. This is an amazing delay.
Well, a lot of riders, there was a huge crash in the middle of though. That was Rob Hales there. One or two riders going off to the left-hand side here. There's still a long way to the first section of cobblestones, and this is all because of the fact that everybody is very, very nervous to get into the first section of cobbles at Troisville. Just sneaking through there wearing number 14 was in fact Andreas Clear, the man who a couple of days ago won himself a very nice race in Gent-Wevelgem. There's the chaos at the back, but you can be almost certain that big names like Johan Museeuw would have been in the front 15 or 20 places when this happened.
Well, that's rather sad to see one of the riders of Mina Vacancy down there. I think it was Ongarato who was in trouble. But they're losing a lot of time here, the race speeding away from them now, and this before we reach the cobblestones. Just one rider there from the Sidermac team, not looking at all well.
Well, let's hope it's not Herman Weinstein, because he's been sitting at the back quite a lot. He too has had a lot of bike problems in the early part of this race.
Another crash here. It's a Fassa Bortolo rider. It's not Ivanov, is it?
Doesn't look like Ivanov who's gone down there right now, but this is why it is so dangerous. This is why you must always ride at the front in a bike race like Paris-Roubaix. There's another man on the right-hand side. Let's have a look just how he went down here. In fact, we didn't get a chance to see that, but I think the problem is, Phil, it is so dry, we're going so fast, and these guys are actually slipping on the smooth sections of road, which has been covered in a small covering of dust. Hey, look at this, men all over the place.
Well, this is Paris-Roubaix. Welcome to the race, as we're now seeing a number of riders in trouble. One of those riders there was Cerrone.
Well, Cerrone was the teammate of Weinstein, the man in the yellow jersey there for the new team, Sedemac. Vinny Caldarello, you can see he was over on the right-hand side. There's a crash at the back. This is why you need to ride at the front end of the main field. Going down there very heavily was Bradley Wiggins, a former world champion on the track at the junior level of this sport. This is a rider from US Postal who's gone down.
It's Cruz.
Well,
it's Cruz coming off on the corner. Do you remember the rider who fell here once and broke his collarbone? The same corner.
Well, that's amazing the way he went down there. I have seen crashes on that corner before, and this is quite amazing, you know. The fact of the thing is that we've got such a dry Paris-Roubaix, and there have been, it seems, a lot more crashes than there have been in the wet.
There's a crash and another one as they made the right-hand turn. I think it's Kai Hundermarkt who's gone down. He's delayed Battagliati. Up very quickly though. It's Aldag, isn't it?
I think that's Aldag who went down there. Let's have a look at it once more. He just slipped away. The speed of this bike race is unbelievable, and because of the dry conditions, even more riders have gone down in that same corner there. There's a rider gone down. I think that might be Tony Cruz has gone down again, and somebody from Fassa Bortolo.
So as we watched the riders here continue, that's certainly a crash though. We think it's Tony Cruz, but this corner, amazingly, in these dry conditions, is collecting bike riders like you would not believe just now.
Oh, there's another man gone down there. This Paris-Roubaix is all about crashes today. This is supposed to be superb weather conditions. It's a Francis de Jeux who's gone down. That may well be Frédéric Guédon.
Well, if it is, that's his second crash of the day.
Oh, there's a crash in the back. This is Ivanov has gone down, and it looks as if it was Nazon as well. He's on the far side. It looks. I think that was Max van Heeswijk who went down there as well, and it was Max's fault. He went down first.
Oh, and that's a nasty fall by Ivanov. Damian Nazon, look at him riding well. He's okay. This is Nazon. No, this is Pieri. Back to Pieri now in the lead. Olaf Ludwig takes second place, freewheels out of it now as the sprint builds up. There's a crash there, and that's Moncassin, and he's been hit by a rider from PDM. Christophe Capel is the other Z rider here, and I think it's Rudy Darlens as well, who has gone down to the left of our picture. There he is, Darlens. Can't believe it. He's had so many finishes in the first 6, and he's been robbed again.
One of the toughest classics of the year is the Tour of Flanders, over the most narrow, cobbled climbs that you can see in all of cycling. Jesper Skibby there, the Danish rider, coming to grief on the Koppenberg climb. Incredibly steep, very narrow, and cobbled. The race commissar's vehicle there running over his bicycle, almost getting run over again. He had to get by Skibby because this is what's coming up from behind. The mass of 200 crazed cyclists trying to get to the front so that they can have a free run at these climbs themselves. So critical position in the Tour of Flanders. You see an incredible battle at the bottom of each climb. All of the teams trying to get their riders to the front. Because of this, it's almost impossible to climb these hills in the best of conditions. When there's a little bit of moisture out there, it's absolute pandemonium. Paul Sherwin offers us his perspective on one of the steepest, most difficult climbs in all of cycling, the Koppenberg.
But although the Quaremont is still a very strategic climb, one of the most legendary and dramatic was obviously the Koppenberg. It was here that the men like Eddy Merckx and Roger de Vlaming laid the foundations for their great victories. But in the evolution of cycling, the modernness that came into it, it was deemed to be a lottery from the past, because only the top 10 or 15 riders could actually get across it. The rest were very often forced to put their feet down and walk like I'm about to do now.
Well, I'm not going to laugh, Paul, because I know just how hard it is. Let's have a look now at the race in 1984, the year Johan Lammerts won and spoilt Sean Kelly's dream of ever winning this event. Phil Anderson was on the attack here, as the riders now were in absolute chaos on the climb. Paul, you've done this yourself.
Well, one of the big problems that happened on the Koppenberg was it actually became a team tactic to send one man out there to fall off and lie across the road and give 5 or 10 riders the chance to ride away and open up an easy gap.
Well, I suppose that was one good reason, of course, to take it out of the itinerary. Riders continuing to shoulder their bikes and walk up the hill. And in fact, with the arrival of plastic shoes, of course, it made it almost impossible. In fact, many riders actually cut out and stuck on pieces of leather to give themselves some grip on the climb. Only the leaders really got to see this climb, which was extremely steep. That's Sean Kelly on the right, and the photographer wasn't ready. What a surprise. You see the riders can't stay upright at all here. Marc Sergeant, who was always a great rider in the Tour of Flanders, always grateful for a push here as the man in yellow, a little bit out of control. Step this way, sir. And the riders themselves continue. That's Henny Kuiper, the winner in 1981, shouldering his bike and deciding to walk up Sir Daisy. And that's not like Henny, he's normally a great gentleman. Anyway, struggle on they do, and you can see probably now why they did have to take this climb out of the itinerary of the Tour of Flanders. But it was a great place for the spectators. And there's Paul Sherwin, he always rode it this way, and with him is Laurent Fignon, the winner of the Tour de France in 1983 and 1984.
Oh, there's been a crash.
Well, that was on the left-hand turn to start the climb. Now, what on earth happened there? We'll have a chance when the recording is played back in, but let's have a look at this, because Zeberg is down and Massalia is down, which we presume means that Armstrong and Bogart have gone clear, and there they are. Let's have a look. They must be up the road here somewhere. There they are. So the crash has caused the two guys who just got up have now gone out of contention again, and we are 4 or 5 kilometres from the finish. Now we can see what happened here. Armstrong in the lead, Bogart, Zeberg, Massalia. We're going up to the crowd line for for a sharp left-hand turn up the hill. The Rabobank bus on the left of the road. That, I think, might turn out to be ironic now. But there's a motorbike just here. Armstrong misses. And in fact, Zeberg and Massalia have had a terrible crash here. Well, that's a press motorbike, and I don't like to criticise colleagues in the business, but that was a really daft place to stop.
Well, that was absolutely ridiculous. I could understand if he'd stopped on the inside of the corner, but that was in the line of the riders. Now, this has completely changed the face of the race, because I was thinking now Zeberg was going to run out the winner. The two chasers now on the slopes of St. Petersburg. Up ahead, you can see the two. Let's have a look at that again, Phil. Armstrong was attentive. He saw the motorbike, flicked around it in second position. In fact, it was very close there, but Markus Zeberg, he didn't have chance to react. That bike was absolutely on the wrong line. It was right in the line of the riders.
Takes a look over his shoulder there, and oh my goodness me, the back of the motorbike knocked him off.
Well, I don't know how that happened, but look at that. Somebody nearly lost it in the middle of the group there. The rider from Polti got his foot out but managed to stay upright, and nobody else has hit that bike rider. You can see him up now, Phil, in the middle of the road, but if we can have a look at that once again, it was happened just as the motorbike was coming by, and I think it might have been the wing mirror that clipped him as he went by. He seems to be okay, but I've rarely seen anything quite that dramatic.
Well, that was an incredible situation. Here we can see it again now. The motorbike going through the middle is a race marshal, and it's the back of his panniers that clip his wheel and take him straight out. I've never seen that before, and if you haven't, here it is again here. That is an amazing mistake, and it's a nasty fall too. He was very lucky there that he didn't break his arm. Anyway, the peloton, hats off to them. I don't know how they stopped, but they did. And so Schneider is now behind the race as the peloton heads down towards the finish. The riders in the Tour de France are always under pressure. The last thing Jackie Giron wanted was a slap in the face from his own team car. And let's hope he didn't damage the machine either, because one of those Lotto bikes is our competition prize this week. And if that wasn't enough, poor Jackie was almost run over by a rival team car. In the end, with pain a part of his daily life in the Tour, the Frenchman continued and is currently 170th overall.
Now, a normal rider who is not a great climber can lose up to 15 minutes on the climb of the Alpe d'Huez, and Stefan Hurler not too excited by the support he's getting from these people here. It's a very dangerous thing that a lot of these supporters do. They run alongside, and I've seen them actually knock riders off on the slopes here of the Alpe d'Huez.
Frédéric Finot of Jean de la Tour and Credit Agricole's Lilian Jégou were enjoying a 5-minute lead, and the TV close-ups that come with it. And the close-up got too close, and Jégou clipped the camera cable as he went past the TV motorbike. And if we run it again, you can see just how close we came to something much more serious. One of the race cars coming within inches of Jégou's head and ending up in a farmer's field.
Here comes the Red Indian. I think he's Danish, this chap. I met him earlier on the slopes, but he certainly enjoyed his lagers today, and I don't think Pantani has any wish to hear any war cries down his left ear. Here we go, back to the slow motion now. There's a little tickle in the ribs to push the Red Indian to the left. Because this great man is so calculating. Andy Hampson wants no more water over the back of the neck, and nobody else to pat him on the shoulder either. He's made that pretty plain. You can't blame him. I think the crowd sometimes don't realise the sort of pressure that a professional bike rider is under at this point of the race. And it goes up via the climb of the Col de Lauterre, which doesn't even warrant as a noted climb in this year's Tour de France. Look at, oh dear me, and that is the fault of a spectator, and Bunyo's made that quite apparent. Bunyo brought down, we're about a kilometre or so from the summit of the Galibier. Robert Miller also on the floor. So Miller trying to get going again, and the spectators pushing Miller back into the fray. And Bunyo already off up the road. A little helping hand here for Robert to try and get back through. But that really is too bad, you know. They shouldn't have got that close on that tight left-hander. Maybe they didn't see them coming up, but that is a shame. Miller's now going to have to thread his way around the cars here. Now, this is the sort of attack that Miller would have tried to have done today. He's done it before. Let's have a look at that slow motion again. Watch the left of the picture. Bunyo hits the spectator in the pink there. Fignon dodges it nicely, and ouch. Bunyo made his feelings felt there. And unfortunately Miller too, and here he is now trying to get back up to the leaders, and look at that drop. If you go off the edge there, well, you need a parachute, don't you? Well, this is unbelievable. This has not been Reese's day, and there's about $7,000 worth of machinery just been hurled across the road there. He's going back up then. He must have got some word of encouragement there from the team car.
Can't quite make his mind up right now. Oh dear. He's not having a nice day.
Very good shot. because that's the commissaire who's seen what's going on.
He's thrown 2 bottles at the commissaire.
That hit him. Yeah, that was a direct shot. That they could get in trouble for that.
You get a serious fine for that. Cipollini obviously having a hard time right now. There's another one of the commentators coming back here. He's trying to get across to his team car, and he's not happy about that motorbike coming through the gap here.
Oh, I think that was a
bullseye.
Bullseye. Pretty good shot for the man on the run. Dirk de Wolf in the lead, literally from the start. Looked round to see where his teammates were, and he fell. And he'd just been joined by Dag Otto Lauritsen from Norway, who was not at all pleased. It's going to be tight on the line, and in fact Client has got it, and that was a terrible crash there, and I've often wondered why it's never happened before, because they do stand so close, although legally they are exactly where the international rules say they should be. This is a much easier position to see here. Bonen had his hen down, and they went off course there, and I think probably Vogel's in second place. I don't think really, as all riders seem to have their heads down, you can accuse Vogel of moving off his line, but you never know how judges think. In fact, it's Klier himself who's coming at an angle to the line. Vogel's a little bit out of control, and then the cameras, and a nasty crash there. I hope he's just winded. He landed largely on his back, possibly on his lungs. Maybe he's done a rib, but let's hope it's not too serious.
Still a lot of pressure on this group, Phil, as we heard before. 32 bike riders in the group.
What's happened there? The horse is out, and he's picked somebody off. I do believe that is Erik Zabel. That horse just came out of the corral, or whatever, field, or whatever you call it, Paul. And he's taken out Erik Zabel. I hope the helicopter can get back there and realise a rider has been hit. There are 2 of them now. Now this is always a great danger. A horse loose in the peloton with cyclists, they get confused by the colours, and because the bikes are silent as well. Now let's see who's down there.
It looks, well, it is definitely a telecom rider. It looks very much to me as if it is Erik Zabel.
Oh.
It's Zabel then. That is unbelievable. He was in an ideal situation for Ken Wevelgem.
Well, it was quite comical. I hope we see it again in slow motion. But Erik, you can see the right side of his racing shorts there. He's been down the ditch all right, but he does seem fine. Well, as he is okay, I reserve the right to laugh a little bit. Let's have a look again.
Well, you can see there the horses in the field on the left-hand side. The first one pops out, and they get very excited when they see a group of bike racers come by. And I mean, that guy had no chance to react. There was nowhere to go. The horse just came out and bolted straight into him.
Now, most of the cowboy films I've seen, you can swing up onto the back of the horse there, but Erik chose to fall into the ditch. But he's okay. But what a shock that must have been, because that's a fairly well-built horse.
Unbelievable. That would have been a major surprise to him. I've heard of incidents like that with animals in the past, and in fact the race referee on the bike there in the orange jersey is trying to control the bike race.
Has he got the numbers, I wonder? Has he got their numbers now? Because this looks like a sprint finish here now. We've got them neck and neck. The poor owners are going to wonder what's happened to their 2 horses when they come out of the breakfast room. Yes, he's clearing the way for these 2 now. I think we're in for a sprint. It's going to be a photo finish. The policemen tried to keep them on course. Well done. They've gone, and I think we've turned the other way. Well done, everybody. But the 2, goodness knows where they're going now. They're probably bound for France.
Now then, a couple of crashes to report early on, both in the same farmer's field, funnily enough. First, this girl went down, trying to keep up with the Polka Dot King of the Mountains pony. Then her young mate, who at least had the advantage of being nearer the ground to start with, she came off too, executing a perfect judo throw on her mount as she went. All of them were fine, by the way, otherwise we wouldn't be joking about them. Only one crash actually on the road, Robbie McEwen, who seemed to bring himself down.
Arrossisci finché vuoi, corri fuggi se puoi, non servirà non servirà.
As we've just seen, just about anything can happen out on the roads in a bike race. If you don't get taken down by gravel in the road or a little bit of mud, rain, whatnot, maybe a dog will take you down. And if you're incredibly unlucky, maybe even a horse will run out of a farmer's field and waylay you like we saw it do Eric Zabel. One race, however, in the history of cycling provided more crashes than almost all the other races put together. That was the 1993 World Championships in Oslo, Norway, a race won by none other than Lance Armstrong. He survived the most incredible amount of carnage we've seen in a very long time in any bike race. The organizers, providing a service to the athletes, had repaved all the roads just a few days before the Worlds. One thing they didn't count on is the torrential rain that came down, and it was more like a bowling match than a bike race. Take a look at these indelible images from the 1993 World Championships.
And there's a faller right on the corner, and somebody has touched a wheel, and the pile-up is following. Well, these are the fears confirmed. There's an Italian rider down, and this is the start now of the crashes, I think, because the riders are very, very worried about these descents. If you touch your brakes just a little bit too much, you're down on the ground, and there's a rider hurt there. And just having a look down, but one of the riders is quite badly hurt. I think he's landed on his collarbone. Now let's have a look at that in slow motion here. Look back to the centre of the picture where the trouble starts. A touch of wheels, I think. And the ricochet effect is riders actually touching their brakes. They're not even falling or hitting the riders who have fallen. They're falling off independently because they're braking and they're losing the wheels. And this is another one. This is further along. The camera has picked up another one here. Kai Huntermark is one rider who is trying to straighten out his bike, the Motorola Professional, and it's clearly damaged. And I think that under the car there is Philippe Louvio, former champion of France, and he doesn't look at all well. Louvio certainly out of the race. On these early laps, we look at the riders beginning to stretch, and straight away a crash. Well, we've only just got out of town because we're at the foot of the first climb here, which comes after 1.5 miles. And the riders are already in a little bit of a tangle. There's always this big risk. It's the sort of problems that you would normally expect in the amateur racing, not with the top professional riders. But you can see that a touch of wheels in these very, very greasy conditions are leaving riders in trouble. Looks like Dirk Decker in as well. It's in fact Gert-Jan Teunissen who's down on the right there. And Teunissen up and away. The usual chaos at the back of the race. And that is a sad end for a very, very talented cyclist, Philippe Louvio. He's carried off the course and onto hospital. And again, I think there are more problems. Look at this now. These riders falling on every corner. They really aren't going to know what to do next now. These are two Colombian riders who've gone down, and thankfully the rest have managed to go round them. Well, this isn't the weather that Mr. Jaramillo would like from Colombia. And they've crashed on that zebra crossing. That crossing on the road has proved too slippery. It was the Japanese rider who fell first, and that has put the race right on the tail. The Dutch riders are up alongside them, and they pull them back. And now we can see there with our slow motion camera, watching when they hit the whites, and down they go. Well, that's the way to end the breakaway. Out in the lead almost since the opening of the championship, and then suddenly back in the race, and you've got no chance. It's good to see the corners are well barriered here, because one or two riders have already tested the barrier. Another one's gone, and a German rider is down this time, and that has caused the ricochet once more. An Italian fell as well, and just look at this carnage. You would think somebody sprayed the main field here with machine gun fire. They've fallen all over the road, and they must be getting sick and tired of this. There's a Belgian rider looking a little bit hurt to the left of our picture. The Italians seem okay and trying to get back into the action. Well, fortunately the back of the field were able to slow down there, but the tall Belgian rider is not at all feeling good here. He's in a little bit of trouble. Mark Wouters, and he doesn't look as though he's too keen, because unfortunately the draw for his car was a long way down the caravan. It took a while to get some assistance, and again we can see how it's happened. It's rather like the British Grand National, this, and I reckon you will call this one the Canal Turn, which is one of the famous portions of the Grand National circuit, and it usually claims a few, but not as many as this. And still the pressure being applied at the front as the Italians continue to fall at the back. And then of course, and this is another crash. Well, this is amazing, and this is Jean-Francois Bernard, former third place in the Tour de France for him, and now on the faithful side of Miguel Indurain, and he looks as though he's hurt his foot, and Moreno Argentin is down as well. The man who won the world title in 1986 in Colorado Springs, when it was held in the United States for the first time, and it looks to me as though Argentin has hurt his leg there and could well be out the race, but Bernard is going to go on. Well, it's a long, long time, if ever, there's been a World Championship quite like this, because the riders are falling not just on the bends but on the straights as well, and the problem is the white line down the centre of the road. I think they're also slipping on there. This is how this one happened. I don't know how our camera managed to get in amongst this one, but there's Argentin to the left, and rolling in agony is Jean-Francois Bernard. And I think Argentin is going to retire. Riders coming around the back of the castle. Oh, and well, that was a crazy fall. That was a crazy fall. That was right on the line of the centre of the road, and it looked like it was a Belgian rider who fell, who was setting the tempo, and the riders just looked to see who it was and went straight round him. It's Atle Pedersen who's setting the pace. Now let's have a look who it was, because it looks as though he's hurt. And again, confusion in the ranks, but this is it's a champion of Belgium here, Alain van den Bosch, and it looks to me as though his elbow or his collarbone is most certainly broken. Well, I think you know, there have been grounds here to possibly call off this championship, but how can you do that when the preparation has gone into it? But let's have a look again. Watch the centre of the picture now, as Van der Bosch comes across the yellow strip in the middle, and his wheels simply go away from him. And how on earth there wasn't a major crash there with all of the riders right behind him, I don't know, but the peloton has seen it. They've fanned out around him. Pedersen going off to our left. And there you can see from the air just how he took out a Dutch rider as well. This is Alain van den Bosch again, and they're doing a pretty rough job here of strapping him up ready for the trip to hospital, just to hold the bones together, because they obviously suspect either a broken collarbone or elbow. Gianni Bugno still there. Claudio Chiappucci, talking to Bugno, we've seen nothing of him yet at all. And there's somebody else is down, somebody's down. The bike is in the centre of the road. This is also a hazard. The rider himself is trying to get his bike back and has hurt his left leg too. I can't spot them from the helicopter who they are, but it looks to me as though we've got a Spanish rider in trouble and an American rider calling for service. Well, this really is too bad. This is the worst corner of the course. There's so many riders been falling here. The whistle blows to warn the riders. Oh dear me, and they've gone down again. Another series of... And there's Decker on the floor again, as now the Belgians once more in the pile-up, and this time with the Danes. And look at that, Decker on the right of our picture, and I think that is his third crash today. Well, one thing, he's learned to be a really hard professional bike rider, because it looks it's just a matter of straightening his bike, and he's going to be back on the road yet again. You can see here now, and it's the rider there who goes down, the German rider. Decker falls in sympathy there, and then the others on the left of our picture simply run out of road and can't get round. And this over the barrier is Raul Alcala. Alcala has gone over the barrier here. Well, I can tell you he's been very, very lucky indeed, because there was a tram went down these tracks not a couple of minutes previously. I don't think anybody anticipated riders falling over the safety fences onto that track. I'm not surprised, and Alcala, I think, will call it a day here as he comes back over the fence. Well, the medical team on the World Championships will never forget this one in Norway. And the brilliant Mexican rider who won the big race for Word Perfect this year, the Tour du Pont, at a team that hasn't enjoyed a great season, first year in the sport. Oh, well, it doesn't really matter now, does it? Because he's hit the deck completely. And I think, in fact, it's a Frenchman who's kind of come across, not an Italian at all, but Rees made the corner well and very skillfully, and the French rider has been picked up there by the chase group, which appears to be still that big field. And Lance Armstrong, and I bet his Motorola team can't believe it, but the 7-11 they came and they tried to conquer as Motorola. They've surely done that. They had a great Tour de France this year, Motorola, with Alvaro Mejia and, of course, with Andy Hampsten. And now with Lance Armstrong, they've lifted the World Championship.
Unbelievable bike race, perhaps the most crashes in one race of all time, the '93 World Championships in Norway. One thing we must never forget is the incredible danger that every single cyclist is subjected to out on the open roads, and absolutely no one is immune to the dangers of professional bike racing at the highest level, not even the greatest cyclist of all time, as we watch his wife Claudine waiting for that fateful phone call from the hospital telling her that her husband, Eddy Merckx, had been injured in a crash.
Il vit toujours sous tension, parce qu'au fond, il suffit d'une fraction de seconde et... en course. Un démarre, il hésite une seconde et c'est trop tard. Il est tombé à Paris-Nice, à Saint-Étienne. Et là, je l'ai su par les supporters d'Eddy qui m'ont téléphoné. Moi, j'avais été conduire papa à l'avion. Et je rentre et j'entends sonner le téléphone. Je le prends. La dame en pleurs au téléphone me dit « Votre mari est tombé. Il est resté par terre. Ils l'ont conduit en clinique. » J'ai tout de suite appelé là-bas et Guillaume m'a dit « Non, non, il s'est relevé. Il a encore franchi la ligne. » Pour atténuer un petit peu le coup.
Eddy Merckx, you got to hand it to the man, never ever surrendered 1 inch. Before we say goodbye, we're going to give you a montage set to the music of guitar genius Michael Ward. of some of the pain and suffering that the riders face every single time they take to the start line of a bicycle race.
Oh, and there's been a crash in the sprint finish. The riders are tumbling down behind here. Jerome Blyleven's has got the victory, but they've left one or two riders scarred in that massive pile-up.
This is a disaster for Ukraine. The gap's opened up. It's what happens when you start to get a little bit tired. The second rider overlapping the wheel there. And look at that incredible 3 riders coming down.
And there's been a mass pile-up there. I think his Towler went down as the peloton completely crashes on the line. And there's at least 20 riders on the ground. I think that was Rob Harmeling, the winner at Bordeaux, who we've just seen lying on the roadside there. And this rider is Gerrit de Vries, who was on the road, and also Eros Polly here. There is a rather nasty looking fall as another rider hits the grate, and on the road there, the rider down is René Hasselbacher. Watch there, in fact, Hasselbacher bumps into McEwen. There's a big sandwich out there. Oh, a very nasty fall by René Hasselbacher.
When Hasselbacher eventually trundled over the line trying to keep the cameras out of the rippity shorts, he wasn't able to shed much light on the crash.
Do you have a clear idea what happened in that crash?
Not really.
Berg sprinting across, he clips the front of that barrier, locks up his back wheel, and how lucky he was, his bike went in first.
And into this right-hand bend, watch carefully. Le Monde goes down. He either misjudges the corner or, as some people said, his bike had been sabotaged.
There's been another crash here, that's on one of the bends, and it looks this time, in fact, as though one of the Kelme boys has gone. So there's been another crash as they approach the finish, but the field now heading towards the line, only 2 riders on the ground.
Oh, and a touch of wheels there at the back brings 2 or 3 riders down. That's not unusual for this sort of thing to happen, but they're all right and they'll all be back in the race in a matter of minutes.
In cycling, the joy of triumph is always offset by the trail of tears, and the riders remind us there is absolutely nothing guaranteed when you toe the start line. I'm Bob Roll. I want to thank you for joining us for our very interesting look at the crashes in cycling. We're going to leave you with some very sad and compelling images of the world's most beautiful sport.
The thing about cycle racing is that you are only as good as your last performance. It really is a cruel world.
Even on the uphill, people were crashing. I never seen anything like it. It was dangerous. I never seen so many crashes. Yeah, we were taking it easy. They took it easy, but once they started going fast,
game over.
It was no, it was just dangerous because of the wind. You know.
You want to hit that TV? You're right there. Watch your head. Thank you. One of the yummiest mummies in all of Durango right here, and the best barista in the world. I'm Bob Roll from Durango, Colorado. Until next time, thank you much.
Hey, Bob Roll!